Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Barrett Cunyan.
Hello, hello, hello. We've got two beautiful souls here in the Activator studio. We have Donovan Truman on our left, and we have Juan Jose from
Yes,
Spain.
Spain.
You're coming from Spain, and of course
Yes.
Donovan is from the UK. It's really wonderful to be in your beautiful company. Right, today's topic is going to be based on the 6 base questions, which is to do with what, where, when, how, and why, and we all life exist. But before we get into the beautiful, juicy conversation, I'd like maybe Donovan just to give a little background, your journey, and who you are, and just a little bit, because there's new listeners out there all the time. So I'm sure.
Of course. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for again having us on your show, Barrett. It's beautiful to be here and being able to talk to your audience. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I could write several books on my life, as most of us can, in terms of our journey and all of the things that are contained within that. But yeah, I've basically grown up, with a varied life. I've seen both sides. I've been educated in the comprehensive schooling system as well as the private schooling system. My father, he was actually a student at Oxford University. But then I kind of very much align myself with the common people that I always just found very much more down to earth. I mean, not to say that, but when I was growing up and my education shifted into that direction because my parents, couldn't afford to keep me in a private school. Of course, where I was located and the school I was in, there was a lot of people from the local council estates and stuff like that. And I didn't want to feel like I didn't fit in, of course, just like everyone wants to fit in. So I came back into that schooling, the comprehensive schooling, at the age of about 10. I'd only had a couple of years in the private schooling, but I was already advanced in my education just within that 2 years, which was interesting. But I very quickly slipped back into the the standards, obviously, of the more sort of comprehensive schooling education. And then from there, obviously, as I went through school, I wasn't really an academic, wasn't really interested, wasn't stimulated. And I just basically started to go into various different jobs, but started to awaken to very many things early on throughout my process. And I did start off wanting to be an entrepreneur. I was looking up to my brother, who basically had started his own company at the age of 25 and built a very successful company. But then I was realizing that actually all the time, even before my ambitious side came to me, I was still absolutely recognizing the inequality in the world. And I thought, this isn't right. How can this be? And that didn't sit well with me. And so I was obviously questioning the world and the realities we know, all the time. So yeah, it then just expanded from there, really, and obviously we can get more into that as we go
on. Thank you very much for that, Donovan. And Juan Jose, would you like to give a little background and your journey?
Well, the journey is indeed for us all a process of awakening in which we all have our divine timing. My previous experience before the soul activation in 2008 is just like a normal life, doing normal jobs. The education was not going far from the university. That means that I was in the basic education. The university was not at the moment the opening of my education. But later, in 2008, is when the box of Pandora was open, and then you activate the soul awakening, and then is when all the information is coming from the university. Everything that we record in our a soul contract and mission is being activated, and we come into that idea of the cosmic pilot, interdimensional or multidimensional healer, and translator of 5-dimensional language. That's basically what I identify in my soul identity, interdimensional of or universal soul identity. That's my process until now. And thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be with you both, beautiful souls.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. I really appreciate your presence as well.
Thank you.
So, thank you. So before we get into the theme of our topic, which is the 6 base questions, I thought it would be a good idea to put a 1 minute, 7-second video about the hamster wheel mentality video, which we produced a little while back. So hope you guys enjoy it, and then we'll get into the theme of our topic after the video. So we'll just put that.
Bioactivator helps humanity investigate the purpose of our soul evolution by connecting to the biological computer, embracing organic Wi-Fi, which is cosmic energy. In helping humanity remove itself from the hamster wheel mentality, which is fear-based energy, through these fundamental questions. What, where, when, how, who, and why we and all life exist. If you struggle to answer these questions, then you are still on the hamster wheel. Bioactivator does not attempt to heal anybody, but creates harmony and neutrality at its core, with the purpose of do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others, and to help simplify life through natural law.
Oh, I hope that went down okay. So here we are. We're going to indulge with the 6 base questions, which is what, where, when, how, and, well, let's not forget who and why we and all life exists. Who would like to have the honor of starting this conversation based on the 6 base questions? Is Juan Jośe? Would you?
Donovan.
Yeah, you want me to start? Okay, I was going to suggest you.
No, well, whoever it's fine.
I've kind of kept quite a lot of my kind of current sort of experience and background sort of a little bit sort of quiet, in that beginning introduction. And of course, it very much aligns with what Juan Jośe will be sharing in just a moment. Hey, to the Facebook user, I can't see your name there. Thank you. So yeah, basically, essentially, like, this is the thing, right? I kind of grew up, and just like everyone else, I thought, like, this is what we're supposed to do: get educated, study, not necessarily go to university, but get a job, get a career, and then just get into a relationship, get married, have kids, and just take life as we've been conditioned to take it. But then, of course, my journey didn't go like that at all. It just didn't go that way. And I got to see all of these things, like, along my journey, which was constantly creating these pockets of opening in my mind and in my consciousness as to what we were really here to be doing, and why we were here. And that burning desire to know just grew and grew and grew inside of me, and really expanded. Actually, after I kind of broke out of really, like, the rat race of working in the corporate world, I got made redundant when I was in my late 20s. Actually, I was just turning 30, and I'd started to open my mind quite a lot more to various different things. Started to look at some of the things to do with conspiracy theories, but I'd also witnessed personally UFOs more than once, and all of those sorts of things, of course, open your mind up. And of course, I was unique in that. My friends and my family hadn't seen that sort of stuff. And even though I'd share some very convincing information footage with them, they just didn't sort of see it. So, but when I actually sort of stopped working in the corporate world and I was working for myself, of course, I wasn't kind of in that, realm of just having to do what I was told all the time and not being able to expand my consciousness, not speaking with people and working with people day in, day out, who basically were not going to entertain really in-depth conversations mostly about this stuff. I mean, a lot of these in-depth conversations that are really occurring now, more and more for so many more people, were the kind of conversations that might be occurring more when we were kids. So now we're kind of returning, I say kids, I mean children, we're returning back to that inner child with our imagination being able to be expanded with this reality, as we're finding so much about it isn't what was taught to us to be. And so, yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. So, of course, I've basically completely shifted my perspective in terms of ambition. And my heart is obviously with the planet, it's with the people. It's about sort of doing absolutely everything possible within our powers to obviously make the experience for every single soul on the planet the best it absolutely can be, because I see it as that is what we are here to do and to be, and to be our very best versions of ourselves in every way, shape or form. But the actual system and how we've been brought up in that system, how we've been educated and how we've been restricted in our thinking is just absolutely causing pain, suffering and a psychological issue with the people, to actually prevent them from actually being able to achieve all of those things, and certainly on an equal level. So it's, yeah, so I've basically just followed now my heart and again, and guidance, which has been coming to me divinely, to obviously pursue now what I am pursuing, which is a creation of a new system with the people driving it. And so we'll talk possibly a bit more about that, but it's basically a platform which is called gpms.world, and it's a visible referendum to help people understand what that is. It's a choice ultimately to create a new system. You either want to opt in to create something new and be a part of that creation, or you don't do anything, and by that silence you're doing nothing. But of course, by your silence is an assumed consent to continue what we know with the current systems and all of the deprivation that that creates. So it's becoming more of an obvious and a simple choice for more people to obviously make it. And that's why divinely the time is now for us to create this and actually be able to shift humanity into a beautiful, beautiful way where actually we won't need money ultimately, because money is at the core of the manipulation and of the disparity and everything else. So yeah, I'll pass it over to Juan Jośe from his perspective.
Well, thank you. That I totally feel more similar of your own process, Donovan. We have been talking before, and we all have that sensation when we are through our journey in our early life, where we are feeling that there has to be more than what we are perceiving. The brain is already feeling that there is a lack of flow of information in our lives, and what we are experiencing is not the full potential of who we really are as multidimensional beings with a soul, a mind, a heart, and a physical persona, and our identity here in the world. I just also feel that the energies concerning the money are very much twisted by the influence of minds who had been finding this sweetener through history, like a kind of easiness to attach to a kind of thought which is fulfilling the numerical understanding of reality. And that's very much located in the left hemisphere of the brain. And that is a reference for many people who had been avoiding of being disconnected from the spiritual connection to the universe. I understand that for those who had the mission to bring humanity to this point has been a reference. I think money is indeed a tool. And in my opinion, we can call money, if we look to history, money has been changing many times from dinars, pounds, euros, dollars. So you can call it like you want, but it is a tool. It is just like hammers that are helping us to construct buildings. But the money is not the architect of the building. It is not the science constructing anything in the universe. And in this planet has been used as a reference. But we have that potential and faculties to transform that tool into something which is bringing the global population master sovereignty. And those are the initials of the group. And I think I don't want to change that because that's your project and I have not the right to change that. But I feel that that is what we are going. Actually have a unified tool on the earth linked to our universal potential and faculties, our divine quantum consciousness, which is serving to every single one soul on the planet to go whatever place we choose to go, and to interchange energies using that credit, that currency. I think that is the essence of the thinking, of the new thinking in five-dimensional understanding, because from that perspective, that tool will be served everyone, but we will be enjoying our existence and co-creating reality without having to be preoccupied of the income of a certain amount per month to pay bills. That is the reductionist reality where humans had been forced to believe that that is existence, when that is, in my total perception and the evidence that I'm getting from this connection to the universal spirit, the universe is in place because divine quantum consciousness in the spirit of unity. And that currency, whatever that might be called, should be based on that global spirit of unity connected to the universal spirit. That is my perspective about a currency for the civilization. One civilization, one currency, one spirit.
That's beautiful, brother. If I can
Thank you.
just add, thank you. As we're on the topic of currency, my take, I'll just throw that in. For me, the universal currency that resonates with me is spiritual merit, because what you put out in terms of kindness and being in the presence of knowing the core of who you are, based on these six base questions, like you understand the origin of your spiritual evolution, that keeps you in line of being centered. And I think primarily that's very, very important. If we just quickly come back to the global people's monetary system and simplify divine law, there are many good, I wouldn't like to say remedies, but one thing's for certain, in its core, do no harm. I feel that that's very, very powerful. And people should be sovereign to make up their minds. So whatever system you have in place should not interfere with the hearts and minds of the people. At the end of the day, you can only be the light, because our true origin, if you remove the indoctrination, we're just a frequency. These labels that we carry, like our names, they're relatively superficial. In this realm, it's a great way of navigating, but in the brute reality on higher realms, we are a unique frequency, and
Exactly.
we are siphoning information, a bit like our conversation today, based on our level, because no two souls are the same.
No.
So ultimately, what I do like about the global people's monetary system is that it gives people the opportunity to fundamentally question the core and look at it from the perspective of do no harm. So the establishment that's, well, is on its last leg, shall we say, before it tumbles, none of us, especially here on this platform, we do not want to impose or try to bring the system down. To our understanding, it's a form of upgrade. And the best form of upgrading is to know your own essence, because fundamentally that's what you're going to bring in. So all that, the knowing of who you are and what you are, and operating from not scarcity, but from abundance, because that is, you feel so holy, and that's what you will bring into the platform. How does that grab you, Juan Jose and Donovan? Would you like to add a bit more flavor to that? Yes, Donovan.
100%. Right. So firstly, GPMS.world, Global People's Monetary System. People kind of often kind of very quickly draw wrong conclusions from the name. Often I found people who'd been in the Facebook group even for over a year have thought it's to do with the cryptocurrency, which it's not. It is a shift in consciousness. It is the instrument to actually unite the people worldwide in a visible fashion so that we can actually transition peacefully and democratically and lawfully with no opposition from any centralized government. Because ultimately what we are going to be doing and need to be doing really is decentralizing and self-governing. It's all about sovereignty, our divine sovereignty. Mm-hmm. So that's what the platform is ultimately doing, as well as education, because we're re-educating the people worldwide with the quantum ethics and the morals that actually are needed for us to operate with a very simplified law, which is just do no harm, which then gives us the absolute freedom to operate and be free, just following that principle, which is very easy to do because everyone's got it in their hearts what's the right thing to do and what's morally right, generally speaking. Okay, and but they're affected by the consciousness, by the trauma, by all of the current system and what it generates, which is preventing many people from being able to honour that and follow that and stick on the right path, because they're not being appreciated for their unique individuality and not being developed in the ways and with guidance to do that and just feel like they fit in. And that's what's going to be transformed. We've actually just upgraded the website, so it's actually a lot nicer and easier to use, but actually it's likely we'll be changing the name at some point. I could imagine, basically, based on what GPMS is, and firstly, we're uniting the people that care, that are aware, becoming more aware, and through the education process that they've already been going on their own, but also through what they're discovering with GPMS and what we're putting out there. And essentially, the movements around the world, there's many that are singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of this new reality that we're going to be creating. So ultimately, really, those movements are the ones that really should be coming and joining with us with their visibility, all of the people within their movement with us, actually numbers which are really captured on the site to gain the confidence of the rest of the population to see that this is really occurring, because one of the issues with a big change being done and being driven by the people is the mass majority's perspective that it's not actually possible. They don't sort of, see that we can really truly unite. And actually, to be honest, the powers that be that are controlling things at the moment, the thinkers behind the governments, the shadow government, if you like, they're banking on that. They're chess players. And the reason why they've been able to maintain power for as long as they have is partly down to divine timing. Big partly down to divine timing, but it's also because they've been able to be organised, and it's much easier to organise a huge population. So I sort of would like to sort of see potentially the name change at some point. I think we'll probably keep GPMS.world because everyone's so many people have become familiar with that. But maybe it will change from Global People's Monetary System to something like Global People's Movement Synchronized. Because we'll be synchronizing the movements advancing in the way that we see humanity advancing, which is the absolute heaven on earth experience for every soul upon the planet. And that would be more in alignment with a lot more people's views, brought up in monetary systems and crypto and that sort of stuff, and actually still being trapped in that looping that we're seeing is occurring with value being placed externally from yourself and into material, whether it's gold, silver, whatever it might be, it's got no value. If we're not here, to give it value, it really does have no value. So that's why it's imperative that people start to shift, and they are shifting to see that actually the value is inside. It's intrinsic. It's in all of us. We're all in. That's what we're activating, basically. So that was my 2-bit piece on that. Add a bit more.
Well, the initiative
you want to add something?
Yes, thank you, Barrett. I think the initiative is wonderful, and the universe we have constant variables, and the constants cannot be altered because that means the structural integrity. I think in the initials that you use, GPMS, we have a constant, which is a global population of global people. That cannot be changed because that is the essence of the life of the planet, human beings. And then the last 2 letters can be a monetary system, master sovereignty, what you said, the synchronicity, what you said, Donovan?
Yeah, synchronized or synchronicity.
Yeah, synchronicity. And those are the variables because we can focus the reality, understanding that this structural integrity cannot be touched. It's just like the genetic structure that is a constant in our process of evolution. That is changing through that level of consciousness. And when we approach to a global financial system and we see plenitude, what the people is thinking for, abundance, what the people is perceiving from abundance is to become multimillionaire, which that was the idea of what has caused this problem 20 centuries ago. I focus the abundance from the perspective of plenitude in divine quantum consciousness, because that is the center of the universe. The solar system is in orbit around the galaxy because the sun is divine quantum consciousness. There is no a financial system in which the sun is coming here to Earth to invoice for the energy that the sun is bringing to this planet to maintain humanity alive. And at the same way is that Mother Earth is not invoicing for all the food and all the energies that we are as humans getting from this planet to live and to feed our bodies. So that has to be clear, that we cannot rotate the entire civilization again around money, because that is not the universe. Nothing in the universe rotates or has these flows of energies around money. It is divine quantum consciousness, and that is plenitude, not abundance. For me, the concept is plenitude of divine quantum consciousness in a spirit of unity between ourselves here in the planet and for the universe. And from that perspective is what I say. We have that faculty and potential and quality to unite this civilization through one currency which is validated for the entire planet, from the entire global population. And we can call it credits for being contributing and facilitating universal existence. And that depends of the contribution. I think a pilot of an airplane, an airliner, is a high qualified person with a high responsibility. A doctor, it is exactly the same. People who teach, people who take other people in transports has to be qualified. And I think that is the essence of the plenitude of divine quantum consciousness. And there is what the entire global human community has to be centered, not on money, because money is the ultimate trick and the ultimate lie imposed on our reality. And that is why our brains are not coupling since we are children, because this is a forced situation. We need, as an intelligent human community, has to flow through our structural integrity, our superconductivity of energies. Our brain, heart, and soul are superconductivity to facilitate the superfluidity of this divine quantum consciousness. This is quantum physics. We see this superconductivity in Mercurio. We see that superfluidity in helium in a very low level of temperature, almost to the zero absolute of temperatures. So when you study science, you come into the understanding of how the entire universe is working, and we have to match our universal faculties to these flows, which are very clear in the quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum magnetics, and we are just in our biological expression exactly the same. Our blood, the molecular interchange of elements in our blood goes through the superconductivity of our capillaries and in our alveoli in the lungs that is happening, that molecular interchange. So our body is not much different to that universal identity image of that quality and faculties of the master creation. So that is for me the important point, to focus ourselves and to understand that we have that faculty to become that global population master sovereignty over our reality, and not allow other external factors like humans have been giving our energies to lies, of to wars, of to money, of to artificial intelligence. We are perfectly capable to pilot this mothership within the universal parameters of the moral integrity, quantum ethics, and divine quantum consciousness in a spirit of unity. When we understand this, that's the plenitude that can guide our civilization back to our five-dimensional, multidimensional, and universal reality.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
brother. Beautiful.
I mean, obviously, again, as you know, I had discussions with Juan Jośe, and of course, people are coming in very much their dimension of perspective, and so there's so much variation in our experience, what we've reviewed, the channels of information that we've looked at, what we've decided to look down when we've decided to look down it versus what we haven't, and so of course this creates a difference in people's perspectives, obviously, and words and terms are often used that people can't understand or understand and relate to. This isn't something to shy away from when you come across new stuff that you're learning about. And most people on the show at the moment probably, I'm sure, will certainly not be doing that. They're ones that have been going and learning and coming across very many interesting, fascinating things that once upon a time would have been regarded ludicrous, but of course is now becoming more mainstream. And that will continue. What I wanted to add to that, really, again, about sort of the alignment, the synchronization, the patterning that we see in the universe is absolutely shown to us everywhere. And the more that we are becoming open to it, the more we see it. And this is very much part of the awakening process. And this is so true, absolutely, as above, so below, as in, as out. Our bodies are electrical signaling systems, and they're magnetic, and this is obviously what they're proving and been proving through biology and science and stuff. And now, of course, quantum science is proving as well all of these different things, and how we are connected, and how everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. And so right down to the atomic level, we are all connected. Everything is in waves, and there is no time and space between it. So there's a term and the phrase, things will get worse before they get better. They always get worse before they get better. And this is so true. So we're seeing, of course, at the moment, more than ever, lots of division occurring, this labeling, from people having different sicknesses that are new that you never heard of, to, having different beliefs and points of view. And this is the element that you're seeing visibly, which is things getting worse before they get better. And when they get better, what is occurring with what we're talking about here is alignment and synchronization, because through the educational process that is expanding at just an enormous exponential rate as more people are becoming intrigued, interested, asking the question why, because they're learning about new things that were once told to them was absolutely not real, and now they're discovering it is. It's opening up the mind and the consciousness and start doing that journey, and it is a process, and so everyone is going through it. But as you go through it, you become more aligned on more things with more people than you were ever before. And so this is the beautiful thing, and this is why it's so powerful, that where we're going is actually back to oneness, because through that process of very quick and rapid accelerated learning, we start to see that we are aligned, that we are truly connected, that we are one, that we do operate from a space of love, that everything is based on, currently the reality is a duality, is one of duality, good versus bad, light versus dark, positive versus negative. But that's in the limited 3D dimension in which we're living in. But the energy is rising. The planet's energy is rising. People's energy is rising. Why is it rising? Because they're expanding. They're expanding their consciousness. They're rising up their frequency. And as they do, it then means that they're basically the duality is actually going to become continuously less there. It just won't exist. Yeah, because ultimately, when we expand our consciousness and we expand our imagination, our being, our vibration, we're able to now know that we can do whatever it's believing that we could do, and that creates more miracles occurring constantly. And so, whatever our belief systems have been, we have to start becoming more attuned to just letting them go. And what is real and true to us today, even though it could seem like the highest truth, is something that you should still be prepared to let go of, because tomorrow or the day after, there'll be more of an expanse in consciousness, an elevation in our frequency and our energy and our vibration. And therefore, we'll be actually seeing things from an even higher perspective that can actually shift us even further and beyond. It's a beautiful time, and it's just so unfortunate that at the moment the mass majority are just haven't really kind of gone that far into their journey, but they are on it. They're all on it. Everyone's on it. And the reason why some are just delayed on it is just because of their reluctance to let go. And so that's a process. Some people will obviously suddenly let go of a hell of a lot very quickly because they'll be forced to. Some will just make more gradual sort of, developments down their journey because and it will be less painful when they do that. So it's better that people start to let go of things, being more open to things, but operating obviously, with the highest vibration possible and doing that inner work so that you can obviously protect yourself and everyone else around you, because that helps the collective and it helps you, and it just makes everything that much more easier. And then actually you don't have fear anymore. You don't have to worry. And you'll see that everything is happening in divine timing, and it is orchestrated to occur right now. It's difficult for people to get their heads around that, because until you actually open yourself and actually start to see these things with your own eyes, seeing is believing, as people often say, and that is true. But it starts with the consciousness and just being open. And once you start opening it up, just like a parachute, your mind is like a parachute. It works much, much better when it's open. So I'll leave it there and let you guys answer that. Barrett, you wanted to say something, sorry. I can't hear you.
Barrett?
Your mic's a bit quiet.
No, can you hear me now?
No, better, little better. Seems that your microphone was covered or something.
But it's better now, is it?
No, it's better, yes.
I can hear you. It's still not loud.
All right. I will. I don't know what's happening. Is my microphone? No, my son will check on that. Is it coming clearer now? Or?
It is better.
It's better. Yeah, I think it depends on where your head's positioned and where you're speaking. There's something definitely going on with the mic. You're better there.
Let me get the laptop closer. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this aspect of cognitive dissonance, I mean, how did it manufactured that in the first place, because there's been an element of artificiality, synthetic implants in terms of inorganic Wi-Fi that was around for quite a while now. The process is quite interesting. More and more people are becoming more aligned to these fundamental questions in the core of who we are, what we are, and what is the sole purpose. What is our journey all about, and how can we graduate from the process of fully being in a place of that ultimate I am, so that you are in a place where, because the competition aspect dissolves when you're in a position where your operating system is abundance. Let me give you an example. When I was in the business environment, the rat race mentality place, I took on board this thing called value builder rather than value destroyer, because for me, value building is based on how you can save people time, money, and energy. So but you can only give it away from the level of being unconditional, because we're not going to condition people. We're not in the process of manipulating. It's a case of what the model of GPMS is all about as well, because it's about creating independence rather than dependency, and that being in the core, I feel, is the ultimate nectar, because it gives people the ultimate expression of freedom. They can be in a place where wherever, not just in terms of words, but deeds, actions. Action speaks louder than words. So that when you are in the community at large, what impression are we leaving, ladies and gentlemen? What signal, what markers are we leaving? When we leave a trail behind, is it raising the consciousness? Or are you sort of trying to manipulate and take ownership and control? But it's interesting that the time, divine time now has it that how we synchronize as a unified field of brothers and sisters coming in arms and being kind and loving is this wonderful transition whereby people are becoming more conscious aware, and that cognitive aspect is beginning to dissolve, because what we're looking at, and that's why several reasons why I set up this platform, it's not mine, it's a guardianship, is fundamentally to be more conscious aware of the organic Wi-Fi, which is cosmic energy, which is nature. So if we can turn more to nature and become more connected with Gaia, Mother Earth, and that will bring a beautiful framework and the feeling of unity, not separateness, but oneness. So that's the moral compass in which the operating system would be embedded in a most harmonious way. We don't then need to heal anyone, because when you're anchored in that place where you harmonize, neutralize, because you're based on alkalinity, you're alkalining the toxicity, so that when I get into a situation where I sense, because for me, the symbiotic relationship, the yin and yang, is so apparently very, very important. In order to understand the essence of something, you need to bring it into balance. You have to appreciate the opposing polarity. But no more the black or the white. You can't say black's better than white, white's better than black. Well, you bring it into order. So if that's the way you're going to maneuver and proceed and go forward, then I genuinely believe that this is the model, the benchmark, which humanity will be excited about, and to be happy. That's the only way we can raise the frequency. What do you think of that, Jose?
No, but that's beautiful. Just also taking the words of duality, our duality, feminine, masculine, positive, negative, electronic, magnetic, that is always complementary, compatible, symmetric, homologous, harmonic. used in a proper way, not to divide, but to unite. Actually, the divine consciousness was one. And the splitting of the universe into these dualities just to allowed humans of other galactic intelligent civilizations to enjoy the share of this divine existence, that a man and a woman together can create life, love, and light, and that is the meaning of duality. And that yin-yang unity is just the symmetric, balanced equivalence of the energies being symbolized so beautifully in that symbol. So I agree totally in what you say, Barrett, because that's the essence. Well understood, there is no separation. This is just a splitting, just to be compatible, co-creating divine reality and happiness, sharing that that experience.
So
Yeah.
thank you for that. So if we remove the indoctrination, what are we left with? Because we no longer need to institutionalize our love in terms of certifying it and for better for worse, so that it's based on the unconditionality of the freedom of movement rather than restricting it, and to keep it into certain decompartmental situations. Like we have flags, borders. What does the ultimate do? It creates division. So if we're going to remove that, the high frequency will be one flag, one nation, which is Mother Earth, and one flag being Mother Earth again. It's not. I'm German. I'm English. I'm Spanish. I'm Italian. Fine, that's beautiful, but not as opposing polarities playing in a demand situation where the competition is. I need this, I need that, I'm better than you, I'm this, I'm that. So that needs that acidity that was part of an evolutionary state of consciousness. We're not here today primarily to condemn, because that's not the way to go forward. It's positivity. It's important to highlight the positivity, to stay pretty much neutral and to understand the essence of how and why certain things happen in order to create this fusion to move forward. And I genuinely believe this is the mechanics simplified in a way that people can palate and understand. And here's a big one: when we are connected to the earth's essence with our hearts, we're able to understand the frequency that's going to come to the surface and affect the collectives. We are able to predict what is coming and also how it may express through life forms, because we feel it before it reaches the surface. That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal, because that's your intuition. You're anchored in a way that you're independent. No, you're not depending on governments and news, the media, or anybody else. And I genuinely believe that we are going to be in the initiation, even with the beautiful model of GPMS, as a form of guardianship, because I've had the privilege of spending a little bit of time with Rick Jewis and Lee Mudway as well. And it's about creating a model which helps, a vehicle that helps to bring about their realization, a bit like the way we're questioning the base questions fundamentally. Because if you don't know who you are, what you are, when you can produce and how you can produce it, and collectively know that I'm not here to be ultimately evasive, because based on this wheel, the only way you can come off the wheel fundamentally is to know your own existence, to understand the essence of who you are. And that is proudly where, I genuinely believe, a bit like what we're all free today, creating this beautiful trinity, and more to come, I'm sure, will be a very powerful tone to get more conversations like this going amongst amongst our community and get excited, you know.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, what I was going to say is, and a couple of different sort of things there. Essentially, I mean, you know, one of the highest vibrations, obviously all of the vibrations are high, but yeah, faith, you know, the restoration of faith in the hearts of people and the souls. And when people hear that word faith, obviously they think it's like, you know, religious in its connotation. And again, you know, just be aware of these tools and mechanisms that have been used to divide people based on perspective and understanding of things. And also the deception that has been occurring as well. But faith is really what it's talking to, it specifically really at the heart is of oneself, faith in oneself, faith in ourselves to be able to be living with quantum ethics, with morals, to do the right thing, to be on the right path, to know what's wrong and right, and to love thy neighbor as thyself. And I say that as a you know, quote from the Bible. But, you know, ultimately there's teachings within these biblical texts that are very deep, and they're right because, you know, they're right. They're right because they're true, and that we should be doing these things. Why we should be doing these things? Because unless you actually want to disappear into nothing, as destruction does, then you're wanting to create. And so to create, you have to honor everything that you're connected to as much as you can, because it's that cohesion that keeps everything creating. So yeah, we're moving in that direction. We're restoring the faith with these discussions, with the platform that we have with GPMS. It's showing the unity in and that's giving more faith to others to obviously see that we do have power, and that people are inherently good and are going to come together, and the power is with one, and that's the way forward. So, you know, again, there's so many different layers to obviously how people see things and their perspective, and what they think is possible and what is not possible, and questions that arise in their mind, in their consciousness as they start going down their journey. But of course, you only need to explore to find the answers. The answers are actually in yourself, and often when we're actually given any information, it's not someone actually teaching us something new. They're just enlightening us, opening up our intuition to teach ourselves from within, which is what intuition actually is saying. Teach within, intuition. So you just need to become the explorer that you are and be open. And we're going to basically be able to, you know, provide all of the solutions to all of the problems very seamlessly when people really do expand their consciousness in this fashion and very exponentially, because the solutions are all there. You know, when you don't have the limitations that we've been indoctrinated to believe we have to have and keep forever, you know. So essentially we are moving into, I mean, people know things like the economy, you know, the capitalism, the communism, the socialism, marxism, all the isms. But in terms of an economical point, a standpoint, which obviously we still talk to, because we're moving through our journey, and therefore there's transitions. Of course, we have a resource-based economy. To paint the imagery of the fact that a resource-based economy doesn't require money, because if you were to throw all of the technology and all of the machinery into the ocean tomorrow, then very quickly the populations would just die out, because they need that machinery and technology to exist currently. You know, if you threw all the politicians into the ocean tomorrow, we would all do very, very well. We had all the technology and machinery, we'd be fine. So essentially, this is what's occurring. We have the choice now to create this, and that's what we're doing. And you know, we're making the pledge that everyone is equal and with no authority over everyone else. Everyone is divine. You know, we are separate in our individuality, but that's it, really. You know, our individuality, our belief systems, and what we know is it's just a journey of learning and being honest and truthful with oneself. You know, ultimately, but it is with guidance. So we're all basically portals to truth for other people, and we connect with each other and we learn more as we do, as long as we're open to that learning and discovery. So just take full advantage every time you connect with everyone, because you will find that you are connecting with them divinely for a reason, even if you can't see it right at that moment. And often you look back and you actually will see things later that you think, oh, okay, that was very useful for me. Now I can see that, but you didn't see it before. But when you start to sort of look at the world in that way, then actually it makes the world a lot more exciting, and it's more uplifting, and it's a beautiful thing. So I had a great thing that came to me, probably about 6 or 9 months ago. I was sitting outside IKEA waiting for my girlfriend Mary to come out. I was just in the car, and as I was sitting there and I was contemplating, I was thinking, obviously we kind of know that we have 6 senses. We're taught that in school. They do mention it, but they don't really delve into it because it's not in the curriculum, is it? 6 sense abilities or whatever. But essentially we have them, and people obviously will often think, well, it's common for people when they're walking down the street to have a sense if someone's looking at them, right? You look over your shoulder and you'll see someone's looking at them. Now, because of the indoctrination and the TV and the programming and everything else, and the fear and the world that we've experienced up until now, because of all of the bad things about that in the past, there is obviously fear, but the indoctrination has caused ones to act on their 6th sense, but not with positivity, but with negativity. And where I was growing up, sort of near Wimbledon, Rains Park, it's not a super rough area. It's not the roughest area by any stretch. Obviously Wimbledon's known for being quite upmarket, but there were parts of it which were obviously a little bit more rougher. And I grew up in an area where you walk down the street as a teenager and you made eye contact with another guy across the road, and before you know it, you could be having a fight with them, because they'll be like, what are you looking at? What are you staring at? And often people, we like to connect. We like to obviously observe. That's what we are at heart, is observers, right? And if we're all taught, as all children, which they will be, are taught about this 6th sense ability, that we are all connected and that we're all at heart love, right? Then it would eradicate violence of that nature just worldwide in just a blink of an eye like that. Because you could be walking down the street, you sense something, you look round and you see someone looking at you, and then instead of actually asking them or saying to them, what are you looking at, you go over to them and you say, so lovely to see you, how are you, what's your name, where are you from? Yeah. And it would just be beautiful. So this is where we're going, because this is the consciousness shift that is occurring like everywhere, and more people and children are learning about it. And it's like you see children, they connect, and it's like they become best friends with a child within seconds of seeing them, like stranger. There is no like judgment at that age, which is beautiful.
Thank you for that. Do you guys feel that, with reference to collective consciousness, do you feel that there is a critical mass, like when you have enough people within a particular zone, whereby the community at large is embracing, connecting on a higher frequency, where the brotherhood, sisterhood, love, compassion, sensitivity, empathy, all these beautiful words, grace, when there's a natural flow of order, do you feel that can greatly influence, not in a destructive way, because how do you neutralize a situation? Juan Jośe, how do you feel, like, if you're in an awkward situation, what do you throw at it? You don't throw more fire on the spark, do you? What exactly do you bring forward to bring more harmony and neutralization? What is the tool to share?
Well, actually, the situation is quite desperate, and sometimes it's almost impossible, because people are very much rejecting any kind of truth that you want to bring into the reality. So that it's a rejection of oppositional defiant disorder reaction. What I bring is just the peaceful and the consciousness and the spirit of the universe, and that is what has been going on since I activated the process in 2008 until now, under the most difficult situations, family situations. My doctor is abducted, and here at home I have issues with parents, etc. So I just bring that peaceful essence from the divine consciousness, and that is what is helping also to others to feel that you are here to facilitate. What I do is facilitate others' existence, because that is basically what we are created, and that is the essence of the universe, which is also supporting the divine universal existence. So divine universal existence is loyal to divine universal existence, and that is what we are. That's the faith and the trust and the credit that we have to give to ourselves as intelligent human beings, not to other external energies. And that is what creates the suffering and creates the separation, because a reduced group of people wanted power, control, and money, and the universe is not power, control of money. And that difference is bringing into people quite of a dysfunctional perception of reality. I bring just that what I had been learning during the last 15 years in my full commitment to my universal existence and the sovereignty and nobility of my soul. And that is what counts, because regardless of what happens here, one day we leave this space. And what I'm not going to do for any reason is to betray my own soul, which is eternal, immortal, and infinite. And that identity is what I preserve and I give to others just to discover their own, because we all have that contract and mission to transform this reality.
Thank you for that. Here's a question, if I may throw to our beautiful souls: is what is or was the greatest suffering that plagued humanity? I mean, from my perspective, it's the disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, fundamentally, with yourself first, because the expression, the reflection, the projection is what level of kindness that you are you showing to yourself first. Fundamentally, how much do you love yourself, respect yourself, know yourself, is an expression of what's radiating through you. So ultimately, fundamentally, like Brother Donovan said earlier, he took a very powerful quote from Genesis, where he mentioned that know thyself and the kingdom of heaven is bestowed. So everything is resonating through you. So when you're in alignment of knowing the essence and what, where, when, how, and why we and all life exist, we are in a fantastic position to understand the highest. Well, there is only one moral compass as far as I'm concerned. It's black and white. It can't be gray. But again, not to be tempted or to be pulled into the drama or other people's dramas or situations. The temptation is always there to participate in certain dramas. It's not walking away necessarily and being irresponsible and saying, I'm not interested in partaking and taking greater ownership and responsibility. It's saying that there is a drama here, and the only way we can neutralize and harmonize it is bring something extremely powerful and compassionate and based on unconditional love. It's not about reward. It's not about profit. And who's profiting at the end of the day? You know, when we give coin to Caesar, when we give this sort of something back to the environment, you know, do you want to take a little bit on that? We've just passed the hour mark right now, so I don't know how we feel, listeners out there. I'm just as excited as we all are, but you know, we can wrap it up in the next couple of minutes, or we can go a little bit more, or we can invite ourselves again in the foreseeable future and continue with this beautiful dialogue. So no pressure. But if you want to take it from that question, what is or was the greatest suffering that plagued humanity? And I'll just put it
Yeah.
on in a simplified way of the disconnection with yourself.
Um,
So
you allowed me. I think that they have been different sufferings through history, which have caused this lack of faith, trust, and credit to the divine master creation. I think they were the floods, they were the pandemics, the bubonic issue, where people thought we are in our own, God is sending us these plagues, and there were about 55 million people dying all over the world. So that has been impacting very much into the global consciousness. What people do not recognize or know is that all is consequence of that disconnection from the own spirit. And the floods were to avoid humanity to be destroyed. The divine intervention has been acting on the planet to avoid that our civilization was able to get into this point in which we could be understanding what we are doing here, because that has been one of the big sufferings, not knowing who, when, where, how, why we were here and what. So those 6 questions are fundamental for every single human to understand what is the motivation and the impulse of our faith, trust, and credit to this universal existence. What I wanted to say in short is that people do not understand that the universe had been sending entire lineages, like the Hebrew lineage of Christ, the Hindu lineage in India and Egypt. You have those lineages in North America, Mayas and Aztecs, and in South America, the Incas. In China, you have emperors and emperatresses who were building also these pyramids in Xi'an and connecting the globe in that structural integrity of the pyramids in Egypt and also in Teotihuacan in Mexico. So the universe has been sending everything which was needed for humanity to have this universal connection between ourselves, and also this guidance in the different lineages. But the entire problem of this global organism, which is humanity in fractal, we are all cells of this divine organism, sovereign and noble organism, which is humankind to harbor the noble soul of the civilization, has been interrupted throughout the history. And what happened 2,000 years ago is that they were beheading John the Baptist and crucifying Jesus, which were the vertebral column on this process of evolution of the civilization. When you behead an organism, we have to think that it's a miracle that we have been able to arrive here into this moment. And that is what is causing those infections and that lymphatic infection of the pandemic in the years 1300, more or less, in which had that impact in the global population of the 75 million people affected by this lymphatic infection. So we didn't know that. And people have not been reacting consciously on the global reality of who we really are and what is our purpose in that unity as cells of this organism, in all the multiple diversity of cultures, races, which are also a reflection of the multiple civilizations that inhabit our galaxy and the cosmos. That is the reflection being given by the universal master creation for humanity to understand. But the problem is that we did not understood the mission here. The Homo sapiens entered the process of competition against the master creation, because that's the suffering of people not understanding the real purpose of our divine existence. And that is what the universe is bringing now again to correct that tendency of misunderstandings and confusion, bringing the suffering of the civilization. So we are perfectly capable in our plenitude of mental faculties to understand this universal reality for those who have the intention to learn. And that's the only required impulse and motivation. Learn who we really are and what we are doing here, when, where, how, who, and why.
Because if you're, that's beautiful. I mean, I haven't got a huge amount to add to that because you explained everything so beautifully well, actually. But yeah, I mean, obviously, be the light. Enlightenment. You're here to learn. You're here to be enlightened.
Exactly.
If you're not, you're in darkness.
Exactly.
So again,
shadows.
Yeah. So that is pivotal. It's very, very powerful. So again, my response to the question is very much shorter. In fact, I can say in 2 words, abbreviated or hyphenated, non-acceptance. Non-acceptance of oneself is where the greatest suffering is obviously occurring. Anyone that's had a near-death experience will say about how it doesn't matter what their background is, but when they actually went to the other side, they actually felt absolute unconditional love and acceptance, because that's where even from an infant's age, a baby, there can be a disconnection, through the trauma that it's experienced via its mother's womb. Any trauma she's experienced, and it's shut and enclosed in the womb and it can't get away. Its only mechanism for survival at that point is to disconnect consciously, with the mother and what's going on in her environment to try and maintain and survive. And so that trauma obviously then is carried through even from a very young age. And it's actually, by scientists that are looking at it, kind of, believe now to actually be linked to obviously some of the causes of autism or ADHD, because, which obviously manifests usually about sort of 3 or 4 years of age, or is diagnosed at that point. But so the non-acceptance, because the world is harsh at the moment, and because of that, our lineage, our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, they've been experiencing a harsh world, and it's carried forward. Parents often have the best intentions at heart to obviously bring up their children in the right way, but there isn't really a good handbook out there to do it. And when they're experiencing the pressure of the reality, which is driven by money, lack, it causes people to behave, and also their lack of learning, their lack of knowledge, their wisdom, in terms of consciousness and being present and aware of everything that you can be, so that you can operate and sort of teach your own offspring in the right way that actually empowers them, allows them to feel fully accepted all the time and keep that acceptance perfectly intact. And prevent them from becoming disconnected, because I grew up, and my mother and father, I was very fortunate to feel loved 100% by my mother and father. I never felt that they lacked love toward me, and I do feel that that's a very important part of my journey, of course, to be where I am. Without that, I may well not be anywhere near where I am in terms of my awakening process. But I did experience at the same time a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, and moments where I was obviously punished for being naughty as a child, and I was given a thrashing and spanked and stuff. My dad grew up, experiencing that, and it was acceptable. It was regarded acceptable, and of course I can look back now and sort of say, well, it didn't really do me any harm. Look where I am now, and of course it's been a very important part of my process to be where we are. But remember, we're where we are now to take us forward to where we're going to be tomorrow. So what was acceptable before, and where it's added value or been helpful for people to obviously have these experiences, to give them a broader perspective now, does not mean it goes on into the future. But essentially, I had those moments of extreme pain and suffering, and when you experience these different levels of trauma, certainly in those younger stages of life, of course, it creates programs within the consciousness which actually sabotage you throughout your life. because
Yeah.
you're learning, your environment is based on the first 7 years of your life. You're like a sponge. So, and then it course has an effect on the collective because your behavior affects other people. I've often said, even when it comes down to this, programming of the television and film and movies and broadcasting and all of these spells and all that sort of stuff, when children are growing up, they can be in the room and they can be listening and, they're playing with their toys in the living room or in the next room, but they can hear the television on in the next room, or they're up in their bedroom and they can still hear the television, especially with the volumes loud. And there's dramas on TV, soaps, soap operas, and they're hearing arguments going on between characters. And that goes into their consciousness. And although they may not understand it, but it becomes, very, very absorbent. They're brilliant. We all are, right? And beyond our imagination. And so, of course, it then becomes a program that emerges and it manifests itself in relationships later on in life. Yeah. Without people even realizing it.
The subconscious.
They're reacting as a character in a soap that was written by someone who just wanted to create some entertainment for someone. That was from childhood, and they didn't even realize it. So, it's fascinating to be able to get more of a perspective of this stuff now. But it's fascinating. So, disconnection from self, from spirit, from creator, from universe, all of these things basically the same. So it's about again aligning ourselves with that and reconnecting, and then obviously again without judgment, because we do need to understand and take some of these teachings that are there for our benefit. They were put there for us to be where we are now, to be able to share and help other people understand things. And that is that we can't stand in judgment, because everyone has been born into this environment and has experienced the trauma and the poor programming that we weren't supposed to experience and have, and that's caused them to be operating not on the right path and not doing things necessarily right. But it's not their fault, actually, And as soon as we can forgive people and know that actually that they are able potentially to redeem themselves, through raising their consciousness and doing the inner work, then absolutely, like, they can, and so they'll go through their journey, and we can't force anybody to learn anything until they're ready to learn. They have to learn it themselves when they're ready and discover these things when they're ready. But that's where we are now, and so I'm privileged to be here to be able to share.
That's true, Donovan. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
I've got one more question to present to us, and then maybe slowly we can maybe begin to, if we're all aligned with it, maybe we'll close it up. And what do we know about this 0 point energy? Are we familiar with what 0 point energy is exactly? Because my understanding a little bit, just to get the tone of the conversation going, is when you're in a place where you're pretty much present in the now rather than the future version or the old version of yourself. When you are 100% present, what happens? You take greater responsibility and ownership, and even the cells in your body becomes unified into the I am presence. So you're very good at raising the frequency, because the way I understand it, even certain shady characters that we call it certain viruses or whatever, or parasites or whatever, negative influences, shall we say, of any shape or form, will not take refuge, because you are 100% present. So when you are in that I am presence 100%, you're creating a very beautiful marker, and it is very uplifting. And if I may, I'll end it on this. It's for me, it really took office around about January of this year, and I began to have a new lens ability to see how broken a lot of people are in the sense of misdirection, not knowing the essence of who they are, what they are. And, it fundamental questions like the ones we're looking at today. I feel that it should be in the forefront. It should be the most important. For example, why do I open my eyes is a fundamental question. And to end it on, I like how I treat people fundamentally is how I want to be treated.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hurt anybody intentionally. So occasionally I do treat people unintentionally because if I'm not present enough in myself, I may have a bit of a negative influence. But whether that's good or bad, it's not for us to judge because no two souls are the same, and their perception of what they perceive, they have a unique frequency that enables them to cipher a certain energy, which is we're not to say it's good or bad necessarily. We just bring it into alignment. But just to end it on, with the 0 point energy, I feel that the more present you are you can only be really present if you're excited, you're happy, and you can visualize and you can really get imaginative about creating or procreating um, a platform in which you bring beings into this context where it's based on do no harm, like with the model of the GPMS to help simplify is a very powerful natural law, very, very important, because when we go against natural law,
Hmm.
we it's not good for us, it's detrimental. So it's
That's the suffering. Mhm.
yeah. So do you
Oh,
guys want to end it on this? And then I just want to thank you both for today because for me personally, I can only speak from my heart as always. It's been
Mhm.
very uplifting. I've thoroughly enjoyed
For
being
me,
in your company, and I hope that
yeah,
uh,
that's
some of the
totally.
listeners there has been
Mm.
okay as well. And I look forward to another
Mhm.
situation like this. But if you guys want to end it on this 0 point, your own perception of what you feel is the 0 point field and how powerful it is as a marker. And have you started or have you been doing this for a while?
Mhm.
Consciously, that
Mhm.
you're leaving these markers. And I
Mhm.
know you guys pretty well now, and I know you have, but just so that we
mm.
can amplify this more. That's the name of the game. We can help
Mm.
amplify this more.
I'll quickly start and then Juan Jose can finish, and then yeah, I'll just say that yeah, I mean I've obviously very consciously more consistently been more consciously coming from that space and acting from that 0 point and knowing that everything that I'm doing is having a powerful effect on the collective. Of course, you know we're in a world at the moment where we're shifting out of the world that we're in, the reality that we're in, where everything is complex and it's going to become very simple, you know. But the problem is that at the moment, you know, walking the right path and being good all the time is not easy, right?
Mhm.
And so you know that's why so many people end up going off the path. It's not because they're bad people; they just go off it because the world and the reality that we're in is not being made easy, and it's been made complex and difficult and challenging to keep us actually in this dense energy. So yeah, the 0 point is absolutely real, and it is a process. And you know, again, just trying to center oneself, ground oneself. You know, do what you can to relax. Obviously, be in tune with yourself and try and look after your own vessel really as well as you can. Consciously, we all possibly don't do it as well as we could, but it's a process that we can
Mhm.
consciously be working towards that end. And again, that is like, you know, again, to go back to like the biblical text, like walking in the path of Christ ultimately is what we're striving to do, right? Okay, because when we start doing that more and more and more, then we start offending people less and less. We start obviously judging people less and less and less, and they start feeling judged, and then it just becomes reciprocated, and that light it's shining into them and helping them start seeing things from the dimensional perspective, that actually is of benefit to everyone, because it's magnetic, and it does have an effect, even if they're not actually necessarily responding in a way at that given moment. Like, they're actually learning from it and taking something from it. The nature of what we're in and what we're experiencing, and the synchronicities of things, is that people are finding those synchronicities and confirmations of experiences they've had later on that will help them sort of, raise in their consciousness. So, and then of course the other aspect of 0 Point is the energy side of it, in terms of actually the future that is also exciting and on the horizon, with to create a beautiful and abundant world for everyone, where we're not limited to the physical kind of material things that we think that we are, to actually be able to harness and actually manifest and create things beautifully, like beyond the imagination. And that is real. 100%. I can say I can't convince anyone, because you until you've seen what I've seen, you're not going to be able to see it from that perspective. But when you see UFOs with your own eyes, and real ones, like unquestionable, then you know that technology is there.
Have you seen it? Have you ever sighted some kind of UFO at all yourself, Donovan? Have you ever had the privilege?
So 2009. There's actually both times in 2009, but one in Borneo and one actually in Epsom in Surrey. One in Borneo I didn't actually see with my own eyes at the very moment. It was through my camera, which I captured, and it was seen in 2 different spaces in time within 30 seconds of me taking 2 shots with my flash on. I didn't see it. It was obviously a cloaked vehicle, right? But this was, I feel that out of the 2, I'm more inclined to think that one was of another dimension. It wasn't man-made from our 3D dimension reality. The other one I saw was actually one that I saw with my naked eyes, but not in it was when we were driving down the road, my partner and I, Mary, like New Year's Eve 2009 again, and we saw a bright orange light, and at first I thought it was a firework, and it was just there constantly for about 3-4 minutes, and I thought, that's not a firework, it's not going out. And we pulled over, and I got out, and I was trying to find my phone so I could capture it, and by the time I fumbled around and got my phone, it was going up vertically straight up into the atmosphere, and it was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And by the time I got my phone, it was gone. So we got back in the vehicle and we drove off, continued down the road, both excited, what we just seen, because we knew what we saw. It was definitely no craft that you can imagine. It was not a rocket. It was a bright orange light, which was pretty big when we first saw it, where it was in the sky. But then when it went vertically up, it wasn't going across like a satellite or anything. And then as we were driving again, we saw the same orange light again. It had come back down, or it was a different one. I don't know, what that might be, but I had my camera at that time, and I actually got out of the car, and by the time we pulled over, because we were on like a dual carriageway, and I started filming it, it started to rise up again. But I was able to zoom in, and I could see some flashing lights in it, and it went straight up out of the atmosphere and into space and beyond and then outside. So and there was no technology that we would know that would be able to do that, and get up there that quickly as well. So when you have that kind of experience and that observation, it obviously again shifts things. And then of course you go down the other rabbit holes where you see other people like talking about their experiences in the military-industrial complex and all that sort of stuff, and then you go, oh yeah, I believe it 100%. So. What about you, Juan? Have you seen it?
Yeah, that I have had 2 experiences in 1979 and in 2013. In 79, I was with a group of friends here after the school, and we were going to nature. And then here in this area, there are some castles that seems to have some special energy, because on top of the castle was like a kind of cylinder rotating with lights all around, and we were watching that spaceship for about 50 minutes. So that was quite eloquent, and that couldn't be anything man-made, because the stability in the air about 50 meters over the ground and on top of the roof of that castle was quite evident, beautiful inside. And later in 2014 in Rotterdam, when I started this process of activation, I saw that orange, coincident with what you saw, in that form of a spaceship, and that was glowing. And that went from west to east, crossing all the sky of Rotterdam at midnight. So that was quite impressive, because I was jumping out of my bed, because it was like a kind of call, come to the window to see me passing. So that was that connection who activated also a new chapter of my awakening in 2013, and the confirmation that my soul activation was taking place, because I had been quite acceptive, trying to ask questions, just to confirm that I was in the right path, not to put me myself beyond that 0 point of energy, which is the first question you did. I think the 0 point energy is the initial point of all master creation. From that energy, from the divine consciousness, in which that consciousness become matter. And that 0 point energy is when everything originates, in what science called the Big Bang, which had been other big bangs before this. And that is the moment from that zero energy in which love expands into matter. And from that moment, everything is created that we perceive visually. That 0 point energy is the neutrality of our consciousness, understanding that connection with the spirit. And that is the essence of co-creation, in which we can, from that 0 point energy, move objects. And that the 0 point energy is the essence of telekinesis. Two humans in that 0 point energy, in that neutrality of their consciousness, by the assistance of the spirit, can move giant stones, of do whatever is needed just to create that structural integrity of humanity and the pyramids, etc. So it is the fundamental neutrality of our minds, just also to teleport throughout the universe interdimensionally. And because humans have been putting all these emotional imprints into the reality, that has been distorted. So we are looking that point. We are looking for that point, 0 point energy again, because we know essentially that is the start of our divine master creation on Earth. As soon as we are imprinting our emotional desires, the money is just a kind of retaliation, because 2000 years Christ said, watch out for these markets and money and business, and people had been keeping that resentment 2000 years, and said, okay, you don't want to the universe, you don't want us to be a market, why not? We are going to make of the entire planet a market. And that is an emotional imprint on the reality, in which people become visible of what they are doing. And that is also another reason of the global suffering, because they create an emotional expectation of the reality. We want to become millionaires. Why is the universe not allowing us to become millionaires? And then we have to impose that reality on the universe, because that is our picky, our competition against God, you know. And that is what is breaking that 0 point of energy, because the master creation starts from that 0 point of energy, not from the imprint of emotional resentments, of retaliations, of this kind of emotional issues that has humanity with this creation. So it would be interesting that people understand how important it is that we get into that 0 point energy, just to start doing relevant and consistent for our civilization.
Well, thank you very much to both
Thank
of you
you.
and all our beautiful listeners out there who really appreciate, and both of you, just beautiful souls, and just honored to be here with you guys. And
The same.
look forward to a possible future session. I'm sure
Yes.
we come up with a beautiful title, and and get another beautiful dialogue going. But in the meantime, much love from not
Much
just
love to you, brother.
much love from the bottom of my heart, and thank you. And look forward in connecting with you in the very, very, very near future.
Absolutely.
Much love to all the listeners out there, and sending lots of love, hugs.
Hugs.
And we'll see you. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and